Hey y'all, it's Carrie Morey of Callie's Hot Little Biscuit. I'm here on Sunday morning in our market location in Charleston, South Carolina. And I wanted to teach you how to make our famous buttermilk biscuits. So there's no better day than Sunday to eat biscuits and gravy. So I'm going to take you through the whole process. And hopefully you'll come see us in Charleston or Atlanta, or you'll make them at home, or both. So we start with a very southern fine winter wheat flour into a big bowl. And if I could tell you or describe to you what this flour feels like, it is super soft. It is a winter wheat, and I don't recommend making biscuits without a soft southern winter wheat flour. I have washed my hands thoroughly for all of you that just are coming into the picture. It is so imperative for you to make biscuits only with your hands, not with a mixer or anything else, because that is what produces the most soft and tender, flaky on the outside, but soft and down pillow-like on the inside texture. So as you can see, I'm just mixing in with my hands, kind of snapping, as my friend Natalie Dupree describes, the butter into the flour mixture until it is completely incorporated. And this is a lot of fun too, so I highly recommend you doing this at home. If you have kiddos, my girls love to do this. It's very therapeutic. It is the perfect thing to do on a Sunday morning. So as you can see, I'm just working in this salted butter, which is against all the baking rules, right? So everybody uses unsalted butter, but here at Callie's we use salted butter. We feel like the savory biscuits need that extra kick, and it just brings the flavor up so much more with the salted butter.
Vicki says hi from Kansas.
Hi Vicki, thanks for watching. Do you make biscuits at home?
Lisa says hi, good morning.
Hey Lisa. This is a great way to start your Sunday morning with some Callie's biscuits. So as you can see, the texture of the flour now incorporated with the butter is like finely grated Parmesan cheese, which is what we're looking for. That is a very hard thing to do if you're putting it in a mixer. So again, don't be afraid to use your hands and get that incorporated. So biscuits are really simple. They require three things: a flour, a fat, and a liquid. And once you get the hang of it, you can really do it your own way. But here at Callie's, instead of just adding one fat, we like to add double the fat, because we want to make sure that you get the best biscuit that you've ever had. So now that this butter is incorporated, we're going to add my mom Callie's secret ingredient, which I guess is not so secret now that we're telling the whole world, cream cheese. So we're just going to pinch this cream cheese off and incorporate it very similarly the way that we did with the butter, except I'm not going to make it as finely incorporated as we did with the butter, because I want you to get a little pocket of cream cheese in your biscuit. And that's my insurance, my way of knowing that you have the best biscuit that you've ever tasted.
Becky wants to know how much flour do you use?
Well, this recipe makes a lot of biscuits. So depending on the size of the biscuit cutter, this recipe can make up to 200 biscuits. So you might not want this big of a recipe. Our classic buttermilk biscuit recipe that's in my cookbook calls for 2 cups of flour. But this was an entire bag of flour.
Bridget says, love getting my hands in the dough.
It's the best feeling. I was just saying, it's like Play-Doh. You're reverting back to when you were in kindergarten and you get to just kind of break all the rules and play with the dough. It's also important for you to use your hands, because if you use a mixer, you don't know when it's time to move on to the next step. And a lot of times you can make dry, overworked biscuits if you use it from a mixer.
Diane says, this is how my mom taught me how to make biscuits. She always used her hands.
Yes, that is the only way. And you know what? I grew up with my grandmother making biscuits every day, sometimes twice a day, because biscuits are a quick bread, so they were made before the meal and always served only hot. So when I go into a grocery store and I see the biscuits out on the counter and people just eat them without them coming out of the oven, I cringe, because they should only be eaten hot with lots of melted butter, preferably. So you can see we're mixing all the cream cheese together. I still have a little ways to go. getting the big pieces incorporated.
Dennis has requested a few dozen.
They're coming your way, Dennis. Just give us your address. We'll send them along. Or come visit us in Charleston.
Yeah, can you tell everyone where you're located?
Yeah, so we are here in the market, the historic market district in Charleston, South Carolina. This is one of our locations, actually our newest location, but we started out on King Street, just right down the street from us. That's our other location, and then in addition to the 2 locations in Charleston, we also have a location in the Virginia Highlands area of Atlanta. But we also have retailers all over the country that sell our biscuits in their freezer sections. So you can just go to our website, Callie's Biscuits, and type in your zip code and find the store closest to you, or you can order online and they'll come straight to your door.
Miranda wants to know if low-fat cream cheese works.
I'm sure that low-fat cream cheese works, but I've actually never tried it, but I'm sure that it works.
Darcy wants to know, since these have cream cheese, should leftovers be refrigerated?
I actually love to make a bunch in bulk and freeze them. So you can bake them and freeze them as long as you seal them properly. So in a good Ziploc bag. And then the way that you reheat them is to wrap them in foil to reheat them. And that kind of keeps the moisture in. If you reheat them without the foil, they're going to get dry. So now we're ready to move on to the buttermilk portion. Like I said, it's a liquid. It doesn't have to be buttermilk. It doesn't have to be whole buttermilk, but here at Callie's we use whole buttermilk. You can also use milk, you can use goat's milk, you can use water, you can use Coca-Cola, you can use whatever you want, but here we use whole buttermilk. So this is the part where I think a lot of people get a little overwhelmed because it's not an exact measurement. Even though I poured it in a measuring cup, I actually didn't even look to see how much is in there. Depending on the time of year, the humidity, whether it's winter, summer, you're going to use as much as a cup difference in the liquid. What you're looking for is a wetty dough, which is different than what most people do. But we like a wetty dough because then you're locking in the moisture and you're ensuring that you don't have a dry biscuit. And I can already tell that I'm going to need more buttermilk than I have, but luckily I have some extra right here. But I think people get intimidated because they see this doesn't look like a typical bread dough and they don't know how to get it out of the bowl and they think that they have messed something up. But see how it's wetty here? But underneath, we still have a ways to go. So I've got to put some more buttermilk in there to make sure I get all of that texture finished.
Ray asks, have you added sharp cheese? Can you?
Yes, absolutely. We have a sharp cheddar biscuit that we make. We also make a cheese and chive biscuit that I think is delicious. We also make a cinnamon biscuit that has cinnamon and brown sugar and white sugar. I'm trying to think. We have a blueberry biscuit that is fabulous. So like I said, this is kind of a blank canvas. Once you get this down, you can add any ingredient that you want, really. So see how sticky and wetty it is? It should just be barely coming together. This is when you know you're ready to move on to the next step, which is stamping it out onto the surface. So you really cannot add too much flour at this point because this is when you've locked in all that moisture, so you can add as much flour to the outside as you want. So make sure you get a good coating.
Cheryl says hello from Mobile, Alabama.
Hey, Alabama. I was just there making biscuits in Tuscaloosa. You know how to eat a good biscuit in Alabama, I know that. And probably make them at home on the weekends. This is really a dying art. I feel like not many people do it anymore. It's just so funny how my grandmother used to do it every day. Okay. So here we have our dough. At this point, we're almost done. Do not mess with it too much because the more you mess with it, the tougher the dough becomes. So I'm just going to add some more flour. I'm going to use my rolling pin, but really just to get an even top, not a lot of pressure here.
A few people are asking about the kind of flour you use.
Yeah, we use White Lily. And honestly, I have tried every flour in the book, and I would not use another one, not for any other reason than it not only produces the best tasting biscuits, but it produces the highest rising biscuits. So White Lily is my choice. It's a hard flour to get unless you live in the South, but thanks to Amazon, you can order it on Amazon now. Okay, so I am stamping down and coming right back up. I'm not twisting, and I'm putting the biscuits on the tray so that they touch, because biscuits like friends. They want to touch each other. They rise and bake more evenly when they do so. So as you can see, I'm making the most of the first roll out by stamping right next to the last place that I stamped.
Liz wants to know, how did you get so good at this?
Oh my goodness. Well, I've grown up eating them and making them, and my mom, Callie, is a really good teacher of biscuit making. So thank you.
Ellie asked, do you keep your biscuits thin or thick?
You know, these biscuits are made for a breakfast size sandwich. So today these are thicker than I would normally like. I prefer the hot little biscuits myself, but you know, it's really a preference. If you get that right amount of liquid in there, you shouldn't have a dry biscuit. So that's really my pet peeve, is a dry biscuit. So if you make it perfectly, then you can kind of choose the size depending on if you're doing a cocktail party. I like to serve a baby biscuit, what we call our mini biscuits. If you're having them for a meal as an accompaniment, I like the medium size. And then if you're using it like what we're doing today as a breakfast sandwich, you need to have a little bit bigger size. So that's what we're doing today. All right, so I'm just trying to get this dough, the rest of the dough back together. And then we're gonna put these in the oven. We'll come back and stamp that later, but let's take these over, butter them, and put them in the oven. They're gonna go into a 375-degree oven for about 10 minutes, and then we're gonna rotate the pans, turn the timer back on for another 8 to 10 minutes, and then they'll be ready to eat. So we're just using melted butter. As if we didn't have enough, we need more butter. And be very generous with this, because this makes the tops golden and crispy.
And what kind of butter is it?
Of course, it's salted butter. Okay, we're gonna put them in the oven. And then, because we are on top of our game today, we have biscuits ready to come out of the oven. There we go. Close this up. And now we've got beautiful buttermilk biscuits ready to make a sausage gravy biscuit, which is one of our most popular things to make at the shop. Oh, I wish y'all could smell this right now. It is so delicious. Thank you.
What's your cookbook called?
It's called Callie's Biscuits and Southern Traditions. Ah! Oh my goodness, look at that chunk of cream cheese right there. That's exactly what I want. Deliciousness. Now I'm gonna let it sit for just a second. I'm gonna wash my hands and come back, and we're gonna add some sausage gravy. More butter before we add the sausage gravy, because I gotta at the shop we use what we call a biscuit opener as a tool, but at home you probably don't have that, so we use a fork. So especially if you are making like a biscuit sandwich, this is the best way to open a biscuit without messing it up. You just take the fork and you kind of go around as if it was a knife, and it opens up perfectly. All right. Let's get this gravy. Sunday defined right here. And a little bit on top because there's never enough gravy, right? There you go. Sunday is served here at Callie's. Come see us.
Thanks so much.